I am not an apologist for Great Britain and everything it did or did not do in Hong Kong. I'm sure if you ask a fair-minded British person today, if they had known what was going to happen, the Tiananmen incident, you know, the ratification of the Joint Declaration, the promulgation of the Basic Law, and everything that has happened in the past 21 years, he or she possibly said, yes, we should have made an earlier move about introducing democracy in Hong Kong, okay? But there's one essential difference that I must point out, okay? Britain is a parliamentary democracy. And one of the two best legacies that they left to Hong Kong people was the rule of law and a truly independent judiciary. And most of the basic rights and freedoms that you would associate with a fully fledged democracy, minus one man, one vote. That is their legacy in Hong Kong, and that is the very foundation and the cornerstone of Hong Kong's success, okay? It is also a fact, and this much became apparent in the official documents that were recently released after the usual embargo of 30 years or whatnot, in which correspondence between the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and Beijing indicated that from time to time, even in the 60s and the 70s, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in London attempted to introduce democracy and free elections in Hong Kong, only to be told by Beijing, including by Zhou Enlai, then Prime Minister, that under no circumstances will they tolerate a democratically elected Hong Kong, because they saw that as a first step towards independence for Hong Kong. And they made it clear that if Britain insisted nevertheless on going ahead, they do not rule out the possibility that they would take Hong Kong back by force. Now that, if you like, probably gave Britain, who at that time was certainly not very enthusiastic about introducing democracy, the ready-made excuse not to move on that front. But I dare say that if they could have anticipated what happened in 1989 with the Tiananmen incident, they arguably would have accepted they should have moved far quicker on introducing democracy in Hong Kong. Chris Patten attempted to do this by considerably enlarging the franchise, only for this to be completely annulled following the handover, okay? So that is the picture. Now, we in Hong Kong, in my view, given the ratification of the Joint Declaration, an internationally binding treaty, given what is written in our basic law, and given the fact that it was on that basis Britain justified handing over 6 million Hong Kong people to a country that was still under one-party system rule. I don't see why we could not have expected Beijing to keep to its promises, because it wasn't just good for Hong Kong. It was the only way in which we could have made the unique contribution that we made to our motherland in the early days of open door policy. Several decades of phenomenal economic growth in mainland China, the whole economy in the Pearl River Delta region was kick-started by Hong Kong money, Hong Kong managerial know-how, and Hong Kong's financial expertise, and our open and well-regulated supervisory systems. So, is it too late to expect China to realize what exactly makes Hong Kong tick? Yes, I think it is more difficult now, because the China that we're dealing with today is not the China who negotiated the Joint Declaration and promulgated the Basic Law in the 70s and the 80s. China is now a country with growing economic clout and wanting to play its role on the world stage. And unfortunately, the rest of the world gives China the impression that money talks so loud that they can get away with anything, so long as you maintain trade and investments two-way. And I'm saying that the rest of the world should stop and think about what sort of a China you want to be dealing with in the longer term.